Good morning, and thank you for joining us today for this webinar. My name is Olivier Fontana. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Neal Analytics, and I will be your host today. Neal Analytics is a cloud, data, and AI Microsoft Gold consulting partner, supporting data-driven transformation initiatives from data strategy to solution design, architecture, development, operationalization, and support. Our expertise spans across migration and modernization, data science, AI and machine learning, IoT and edge computing, BI, application development, and RPA. With a focus on right-sized and pragmatic approaches toward digital transformation, Neal leverages agile methodologies and flexible engagement models to deliver measurable customer value. During this webinar, we will explore how marketing departments have been investing consistently for years in marketing technologies and tools spanning across their entire marketing and sales funnel, and how they are still struggling to reap the benefit, in the sense of true marketing programs ROI, of those investments. During the next 45 minutes, my colleague, Greg Gomez, Neal Analytics Vice President of Business Development, will share with you our learnings relating to the conundrum that retail and CPG companies are facing when it comes to truly being able to deliver personalized experiences to the customers. He will share how you can build on your existing customer data and MarTech tools to deliver the marketing ROI and business impact you need. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to ask them in the Q&A sidebar, and we'll reply to them during the open Q&A session at the end of the presentation. With that said, and without further ado, I'll leave the floor to Greg.
Thank you, Olivier, and welcome everyone. This is Greg Gomez. Thank you for taking time out to join us this morning. As Olivier said, we're very excited to share some of the learnings we've had working with customers around how to maximize the value of their customer data. So we're going to walk you through a bit of a journey on how we're helping companies become more customer-centric, and start with a little bit of grounding on why this is such a hot topic for many organizations. This is a great quote. It's been around for quite a while from Sam Altman, founder of Walmart, that really sums it up. There's only one boss, the customer. He can fire everybody in the company from chairman on down simply by spending his money somewhere else. And this is really what we see happening every day with our retail and consumer goods companies and other industries that we work with, where folks are really trying to understand how do we please and build a better relationship and experience with really our true boss. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to talk a little bit about what it means to be customer-centric and why it's so important. What are the challenges that are making it so difficult for many organizations to really develop this high level of customer centricity? And then how we've sort of packaged up some of our offerings, as well as partnerships with companies like Microsoft, to help companies connect their customer journeys to their business goals, and we call this Customer IQ. So what does it mean to be customer-centric? What we're talking about here is from the consumer side, it's buying experiences that are based on their preferences and behavior. It's enhancing their journey from end to end, and that requires understanding the buyer journey and the consumer along that path. It means meeting the customer where they're at in this omni-channel world. There's so many touch points, so many places to search, discover, and purchase products. Knowing where the customer wants to be met and interacted with is incredibly important. It means providing value while removing friction. And this is an important topic because consumers really are looking for a value exchange with brands and with retailers. It requires us to be able to operate in an agile manner. The idea that we need to quickly test, learn, and iterate is imperative when we talk about being customer-centric. And it also requires a single unified view of the customer. We really do have to know who the customer is And we have to know that in a holistic sense across all of the different touch points we have with our customers. So why is it so important to be customer centric? A big driver of this is that customers' expectations of us as brands and retailers have changed considerably over the years and are changing even more drastically when you look through the younger generations. Where we see customers now is they value experience over price or product. It's not simply about my favorite product, it's what's the experience like in shopping and buying and using that product. They also demand a reciprocal relationship. This concept of the value exchange is incredibly important. If they're not seeing something reciprocal in value, they tend to wander off to other more interesting things. And they also, we're seeing this definitely with the younger generations. They're expecting brands to respect and align to their social philosophies. The mind share and the mindset is really moved into this direction of, again, responsibility and social awareness. Now, the other real hard facts about why it's so important to be customer centric can be seen in the measures in the bottom. It's very evident that being able to be customer centric gives you the opportunity to increase customer retention, increase lifetime value, and drive sustained growth for the company. And the reports that we've highlighted here show that 60% of companies who have become customer centric are more profitable. That consumers are willing to pay more for that, as I said earlier, for that better experience. The ability to optimize marketing spend is increased significantly, and the cost of acquiring new customers is reduced significantly. So there's tremendous tangible business value in becoming more customer centric. But what's the reality out there? The reality is many companies feel they are customer centric, but the opposite is true when you talk to the consumers who work with those companies. Very few, and less than a third of consumers actually feel the companies they associate with are customer centric or as customer centric as they'd like them to be. And many marketers don't really feel their company's strength is being customer centric. They're challenged to get there. So what else is contributing to the challenge? This is one that's talked about a lot, and that's the data silos challenge. The reality is it's very difficult to be customer centric when I've got silos of data across all these different technologies that I use, not to mention the different touch points and the departments that are associated with those touch points. So connecting all these silos, the touch points, all these disparate data sources to get a single customer view is a massive challenge. And you can see 79% of the companies that responded to this particular report see that as a blocker to them becoming customer centric. Another way of looking at it is, kind of where is marketing today in terms of accomplishing these goals? Well, CMOs now spend about a third of their budget on marketing technology, yet they're still challenged to really be able to attribute marketing's contribution to the business or predict it. So, what's driving this this lack of optimization, even though all this money is being spent? Well, as we just said, data siloed across many different tools and many different business functions. There's sort of a hardwired methodology in place around the way we interact with our customers so that we lack the agility we need that was described on that customer-centric slide earlier. There's obviously a growing groundswell around data privacy concerns and restrictions, and this is only going to continue. And at the end of the day, without the ability to attribute marketing spend to ROI, we're kind of, again, wandering in the forest without really being able to see where we're going. So let's start with the customer journey and see how we can start to, unravel what's ailing so many folks in this space today. First of all, when we talk about the customer experience and improving the relationship with our customer, we have to recognize that there's many touch points on the customer journey. We all know that. Some of these we have direct control over, and others we have less control over but can influence. But the bottom line is customer experiences must be optimized across the entire journey. We can't just optimize at touch points. But unfortunately, that's where the world is today. All of our marketing technologies and our MarTech tools are really aligned to specific touch points along the journey. And they might be good at doing what they do for that specific point in the journey, but there's no end-to-end comprehensive way to bring all this data together and really create that end-to-end optimization of the customer journey. And this is what's exacerbating the problem when we talk about the disparate data sources and how it actually manifests itself when we talk about improving the customer journey. So how can we really expect to have a clear picture of how our customers and the way we interact with them is influencing our business outcomes? When you take the fact that we have all these different disparate marketing tools with their own data silos behind them, it's really impossible for us to have accurate KPIs and understanding of outcomes. And it's definitely difficult for us to create that comprehensive customer experience improvement that we're aiming for across the entire business journey. So what we really need to be able to do is take our customer journey and our business goals and link them together so that we have an end-to-end capability to understand how our customer journey is affecting our business goals and vice versa. So that starts by bringing the data from all these various touch points into a 360-degree view of the customer, our unified profile, if you will, so that we can start to understand behavior across the entire journey. It also means that we have to be able to start measuring and predicting how our marketing activities will impact business goals and KPIs. This is made much easier now that we have all the data in one place, and we can start to really understand collectively and holistically how our activities are impacting our business outcomes. We also need to make this a round trip loop. We need to inform and optimize our marketing activities. Again, with this same set of data, we're able to quickly and in a very agile manner make adjustments to how we spend our marketing dollars, which channels of engagement we use, which content we put out, and use that with predictive capability so we know exactly what sort of ROI we're going to get. Ultimately, this manifests itself in an enhanced customer journey at every touch point from end to end, which is what we're aiming for when we talk about improving the customer experience and being customer centric. So what we've developed and what we're sharing here today is an approach that we hope companies would be interested in undertaking with us, which is really a playbook for helping customers like yourselves get to being a customer-centric enterprise. And the stages of this are really just what we talked about in the previous slides, the steps of knowing who your customers are, understanding their behavior, improving marketing effectiveness, and achieving our business goals. And starting with this first section, know your customers, what we're talking about, again, is the ability to break down all these data silos, bring all the data, customer data from all the different touch points we have with consumers, and create that single unified view of the customer. And what this means to us is that we now have ownership and control over customer data, again, holistically. We're able to apply data privacy and governance standards to that data, and we have a persistent source of data to go to anytime we need to understand what consumers are doing and how they're interacting with our business. So if we think about sort of the overarching view of our customers and how we engage with them, what we're talking about is this central layer, this unified view of the customer that combines demographic data, behavioral data, and transactional data from all the touch points in one place. And so what we're talking about here is a customer data platform. And a lot of people have heard this term. It's a very popular thing in the industry right now. But just to go through our playbook here, because it's an integral part of it, a CDP is really a customer database. This is where we create that unified view of the customer and enable marketing to optimize the customer experience as well as their ROI. The capabilities that are typical in a customer data platform are this data collection and integration layer that allows me to bring all this data together from multiple sources, add identifiers and attributes. One of the most important pieces of the customer data platform is the ability to unify all that data to a single individual customer, connecting all the different attributes and identities from different places, even if the names and phone numbers and IDs are different from data sources. We're able to leverage AI to discern which of those things are duplicate and which of them are accurate, and bring those together into a unified profile that links all of the physical and digital touch points we have with customers. The ability to segment customers, both rule-based and which are more static segments, as well as more dynamic segments that are based on changing behaviors over time. And ultimately, we have to be able to activate this customer data, sending these facts to our MarTech tools so we can start to optimize engagement across the entire customer journey. A lot of times we get asked, why do I need a CDP? What's different about it, and what's so great about it? Well, a CDP is different. A lot of people are familiar with the concept of a data warehouse. Most enterprises have a data warehouse or multiple data warehouses these days. And to characterize the differences, a data warehouse is typically built for the entire enterprise. It combines data from across the entire organization: sales, marketing, finance, operations, and so on. Because of the nature of a data warehouse, they're very complex ETL processes, even planned downtime periods that are required to fine-tune the ETL processes and the data warehouse itself. Data compliance and governance is extremely complex in a data warehouse because you're dealing with so many different departments and business functions that may each have their own level of privacy and governance concerns, and it's hard to harmonize and bring all those together. And there's certainly a heavy reliance on IT to help develop, deploy, and maintain these data warehouses that are such a work engine. Oftentimes, most of what a data warehouse does is provide reporting and analytics across the enterprise. To contrast this, the customer data platform is really built directly for the needs of marketers. It's built with marketing intention. It's focused only on customer data, not combining data from all over the enterprise across different business functions, but really the data across all the touch points we have with customers. It's designed to be able to rapidly update because customer activities happen all the time. Customer behavior changes. We need to be able to have those rapid updates reflected in our customer data. It's very important that it accomplish identity resolution unification. We need to know who the customer is, but we also need to govern that with very strict privacy and data governance concerns as it relates to customer data. And ultimately, it's a self-service tool for marketing. It's not an enterprise class platform. It's a marketing platform, and it's meant to be easy for marketing to update and edit the way the customer data platform works. And we'll talk about some of those examples as we go through the demo here in a minute. So for our approach, we are a Microsoft Gold certified partner in data and analytics, and we partner very closely with Microsoft as they've brought last year their CDP offering, Dynamics 365 Customer Insights, to market. And I'm going to use Dynamics 365 Customer Insights as the base CDP to talk about how we help enable companies to become more customer-centric. I'll start real quickly by just jumping into a quick demo of Dynamics 365 Customer Insights and show you what the CDP is really all about from an application and platform point of view. So what you're seeing now on the screen is sort of the home screen for Customer Insights. Now, it's important to recognize Customer Insights is not a destination for analytics. It's a destination for customer data. It's really at its core a platform for collecting data from many different disparate data sources and creating that unified profile. So what I'm showing you here are really the pieces of Customer Insights that are relevant and pertinent to that process. Then we're going to dive into some of the other things that we do with this data separately. But we do see some key insights that are surfaced when we first go to the home page. We can see things like ticket close time, sales. There's some interesting things here on the right, which are called, enrichment data. And we'll talk a little bit more about what enrichment data means, but this is data that's being collected from Microsoft proprietary data sources to give me information about what my audience is thinking about in terms of categories and where their brand affinities might be. And so let me just jump in a little bit on how do we get to starting to get these insights and get to the insights. Well, the first thing we need to do is bring in data sources. One of the great things about Customer Insights is that it's built to combine data from many different data sources. In fact, there's over 20 plus out-of-the-box connectors to many of the common MarTech tools that allow me to very quickly, in a plug-and-play manner, start consuming data from all of the tools that I use, both internally and externally, and bring those into the CDP. So these are just some examples of several data sources I might be bringing in. There could be many more in a typical implementation. The next thing is defining the entities that we want to work with. And what this really boils down to is just we've got a number of different things that we're bringing in from these data sources. How do we group these together to be able to understand what data we have available to us from customers? So as an example, if I look at customer profiles, I've got an entity here called customer. And we can look at the data that we have collected from our data sources here. We can also see what fields we're bringing in. In fact, even with some of these fields, we get some immediate insights. If we look at rewards points, for instance, we can start to see how rewards points are distributed across our customer base. Ultimately, what customer insights is intended for is to create that unified view of the customer data. And there's a three-step process that accomplishes this. We call it map, match, and merge, or M3. And so this three-step process is really the engine behind how do we get data from all these different touch points with consumers and across all these different tools and technologies into one unified view of that customer, so we can start to really understand their behavioral, transactional, and emotional activities with our company. So the first stage is the map stage. In this case, we're looking at the data from our retail system. And what you're seeing on here is the fields that come out of that system on the left, and what we've identified as a primary key here of the customer retail ID. And in the middle column, what we're seeing are mappings to our common data model. In other words, we have a standardized definition or taxonomy for fields that we're mapping all these disparate sources to. Now, the great thing about customer insights is a lot of this is automated. When we talked about some of the AI capabilities, it is actually looking at the names of fields, the contents of the data in those fields, and determining with high probability which of those should map to our common data model and to which particular fields in that data model. It's also looking at how do we take different fields that may look unrelated and discern that those are actually connecting data sources together. So we go through this process. Again, a lot of the work is already done for us, but when we set this up, we go through each of these entities and we double check that we're mapping the right data in, and we also choose which fields we want to bring in. The next step is to match records or start to match the fields together. So you can see here that what we've done is already run a matching here, and we have over 1 million unique customers, and almost all of those customers were matched to some level of consistency. So you can see down below, our primary field is our primary entity is the retail system, and that's where we have all these matches. But you can see for each other system that we're bringing in how well we were able to match records in those systems, and by the field that we're using to match, we can see how effective the matching was. Once we've been able to match records, the last piece in this is merge. And what we're talking about when we do the merge is we're saying we're able to identify the matching records. Now we need to whittle that down to that one single profile, that one unified view of the customer. So what we can see now is we've got a single entity where we've combined fields together and also removed fields we don't need. So what we're seeing here is details on the different things that we're collecting, city information. For instance, we can see we've collected city information from 3 different data sources, but we're storing that in one field in an entity. These are all at the bottom. These are fields that we've decided we're not going to keep because it's either duplicate or we already have data or it's not useful to us. And so we can see which ones are being removed as we go through this process. So ultimately now at this point, we've collected a database of customers where we've unified the data from a number of different data sources, and we have one unified view of the profile. Now we can start to do things with that data. So as I mentioned earlier, we have this concept of enrichment. This is a really interesting capability that Microsoft provides within Customer Insights, where they're able to use some of their proprietary data sources like Bing Search, Office Graph, and so on, to take a look at aggregate interest and brand affinities from customers. So what's happening here is from these 729,000 customers, based on various parts of the profile, we're able to look at their interest compared to similar demographics. So what we're seeing is coffee and espresso machines and food are very high interest levels for the majority of our customer base, and from a brand perspective, Starbucks is definitely out in front. Just for some context, this demo is set up on a fictitious company that sells coffee and coffee equipment. And so these are the things that resulted from the customer base in the enrichment sense. And we can edit these as we're working with our data. We can choose the brands we want to compare and to our own and to each other, or we can just choose an industry and let the AI engine determine which brands are most relevant to include in the enrichment piece. A couple other quick things I'll touch on here is segmentation. So again, out of the box, we're able to, within Customer Insights, create segments. As I mentioned earlier, there's really two types of segments that we're working with here. One is static segments, which are segments that are based off of very firm rules that don't typically change over time. And the other are these dynamic segments where customer behaviors or emotions might change over time, and we want to be able to track those. So, for instance, if we wanted to know who are our customers that have had customer support requests within the last 6 months, we can quickly see that view of customers. Right now it's set to 30 days, so we'll spread this out to 6 months. We started collecting data in December. It looks like it's been pretty consistent over time. We can also download this data set to a CSV and feed that into another system. So if we wanted to, for instance, send out an email campaign to customers who've recently called into our customer support with an offer, we can quickly download this, feed this into our email marketing system with some content, and push that out to those customers. We also have the ability to create our own measures based on the data that's been unified in these profiles. So if we want to start tracking things like reward points, average purchases, net promoter score, we can build measures and store these on the profiles for customers. And so if I go back to my customer view, now that we've aggregated all this data, we can start to see what a customer record looks like. So we'll click on Joey here, and we can see that we've got sort of a unified view of his info, and we can see some of the different systems that were attached to this. We have some details on activities. There's been some tickets open. There's been some transactions. We can see details on those. There's some purchases. There's some customer support. We can see what his average purchases are, how many reward points he has. We can see his brand affinities, and we can see his interest. So this is the kind of data that's being unified and collected. And again, this is just a demo with only 3 data sources in here. We could be pulling in many more data sources. We can be pulling in social media data. Those are, as I mentioned, there's a whole host, dozens of out-of-the-box connectors, and also the ability to build custom connectors to attach to those data sources. One of the other great things about working with Microsoft on the CDP front is it's not just about the CDP, it's also about the other parts of the Microsoft platform that help augment and extend the value of the CDP. So for instance, as I said, the Customer Insights is really the data repository, but I need to be able to make this data available to my marketers so they can use it. So I can even surface this data in Power BI. So this is a Power BI dashboard where I can, I can go in and I'll look for Joey, who we were just looking at a minute ago. I can search for Joey, and I can see some of the same profile data in this particular view in the dashboard as I do. But I could also have other views in this dashboard that are more around analytics, trends. Where was Joey? He's down here. A few Joeys in our system. I think it was Clink. And so I'll click on Joey Klink here, and we can see we have the same data coming up in our Power BI dashboard with a little bit different layout. But again, this doesn't require somebody to have access to my customer data platform. They're surfacing the data for them inside of Power BI. So that was a quick run through of the Dynamics Customer Insights solution from Microsoft, which we're very excited to be partnering with. Why do we think Dynamics 365 Customer Insights is a great tool for a customer data platform? Well, for one, it's a very fast implementation. Again, it's meant for marketing. It's built for marketing. It doesn't require heavy investment in IT resources to implement, and we can leverage those pre-built out-of-the-box connectors. We've got this layer of AI that's helping us not only with the unification and enrichment, but understanding of and the insights that come out of that data. Again, we're able to use the extended capabilities of the Microsoft platform to automate some of these processes and automate the way we interact with our customers. And of course, there's the fact that we're talking about Microsoft with the tool set here, not a new startup down the block. So we have confidence that we're investing in the right tool set here. A big philosophy here is that you maintain control. This is your customer data. You maintain control of it. You can configure and extend the way you use that data. It's not locked in a SaaS solution, and it's totally accessible to you and to your teams as to how you use it and how you leverage it. So switching gears, how do we continue down this journey? We just talked about creating that 360-degree view of the customer, pulling in data from all these different data sources and bringing it into our customer data platform. So, what's next? Well, we go back to our playbook. Once we have this data, we really want to start to understand customer behavior. This means we need to be able to really dynamically understand what customers are doing, how their behaviors and their emotions are changing. We need to understand which customers are actually our high value customers, the ones we want to invest more in because we know we'll get maximum ROI from those investments. And of course, one of our main goals in this whole process is to make sure that we're growing customer loyalty and lifetime value, and we're reducing the cost of acquiring new customers. So these are what we call, in essence, sort of the applications and engagement opportunities that come from this. So if we take our customer data and we start to think about how we apply it in the business, we call these our apps, if you will, and these are designed to help marketers achieve these business goals. So things like segmentation, lifetime value, personalization are all layered on top, and this is part of what we bring to the table in what we call our Customer IQ offering. So our Customer IQ offering is really about enabling these applications. So as we talked in the previous section about knowing our customers and bringing in data into our 360 view, is how do we apply analytics, AI, and machine learning to that so that we can improve our effectiveness and optimize the way we engage with our customers through our MarTech tools. So this is a little different view of the architecture. This is kind of showing what are some of those examples. So again, on the bottom, we have our customer data platform where we have that 360-degree view of the customer and we've unified the data. It's now, what are all the things we can do with that? So everything from dynamic segmentation to loyalty to churn analysis to sentiment analysis. These are all layers of the Customer IQ platform that we bring as part of Neal's offering on top of the CDP to help you actually maximize the value of these investments and drive ultimately at the top enhanced engagement with our customers through the MarTech tools and technologies that you use as an organization. So we'll talk real quickly about an example of this. We talked a minute ago about bringing all this customer data into our platform. An example of what we can do with that is predict and understand customer lifetime value across our customer base. And one of the strong benefits of this is this helps me understand where I should be investing my marketing dollars. What I want to know is, where do I have opportunities to increase lifetime value? Which customers are most likely to react to marketing campaigns and initiatives that are going to do that? And how much and where should I make those investments to actually achieve that? So what we're seeing here is a dashboard again in Power BI that is is giving me, let me just make this a little bit bigger. We'll go to a full screen view here. What this is giving me is a data-driven understanding of my customer segments and their values. So we're not predefining this based off any rules. We're not even predefining this based off of any amount of purchases or past lifetime value. The machine learning model is simply looking at the data, looking at the categories of products, looking at average purchase price, the number of visits per year, the demographics, and it's identifying clusters of customers that fit into those cohorts. And so we can see that we have a number of different cohorts here, 6 to be exact, and we can see our biggest one is cluster number 5. Up at the top, we have some notations about what some of these different clusters look like in terms of the characteristics, but these are derived from the data. They're not predefined. So cluster 2 is skewing to be millennial, and we also see that they make purchases more on impulse rather than on discounts or marketing efforts. We have cluster number 5, which is our biggest one, seem to be more random, but they're high income. And if we want to look at sort of where's our high value, it looks like, you know, we've got clusters 3 and 4 are more loyal. And so we want to consider where we spend our marketing dollars, perhaps with clusters 3 and 4. We can go down to individual clusters. Let's take, for example, segment 3. These are millennials. Oops, I'm not loading my data here. Love doing live demos. Well, at least the first one came up and we can see that the data is there. But each of these shows the specific details of individual clusters. Again, what you start to see in each cluster is how some of the demographics change, and some of the locations, and what the individual segment screens show you is where there might be opportunities to upsell and cross-sell those customers, again, to drive more marketing ROI from our spend on those customers. Another way of how Microsoft has made some of these capabilities, again, connected and end-to-end, as we said before, we need to be able to bring these through the entire customer journey, is through the Power Platform and Power Apps. So as an example, this is an application that was developed really quickly that surfaces customer insights data into a tablet interface that store employees could use to provide a more personalized customer experience in the store while customers are shopping. So if we look at customers, we get some basic data, but let's say Steve walks into the store here. We can bring up some data about Stevie and see that, well, we don't have any data on his purchases. Let's choose a different customer here and see if we can get, let's try Theobald. So for Theobald, we can see his average purchases, how many report points, and we can see that our customer lifetime value is being represented here in the form of an indicator for our store employee that this is a high value customer. And there may be some specific initiatives that we might provide as cues to the employee. In this case, we're recommending that we ask him if he wants to sign up for the mobile app, and we also recommend that we show him the latest coffee maker because it's indicated that he has an affinity for coffee machines. So this is the way some of this data can be operationalized in the hands of even store employees as they interface with customers. So coming back to our playbook, the last 2 pieces on this are really about how do we really drive marketing ROI, improve the experience across the entire customer journey, and how do we ultimately drive and achieve our business goals. So what we're talking about now are the outcomes. How do we increase lifetime value, loyalty, ROI, and even the value of our brand? And one way of thinking about this, again, is how does this app-driven approach really tie to business outcomes? And one of the ways we like to start this journey with customers is to really dig into what are your business objectives? What are the key outcomes you guys are trying to effect? You know, what is it and how are you going to get there are really those questions. And then the next piece are, well, what are those things that if you do them well are going to lead to success in getting those? If we're talking about, for instance, reducing customer churn, we might look at several different KPIs that impact customer churn and say, we need to be diligent about increasing the performance of these KPIs. If we do so, we will reduce customer churn, and that will help us increase profitability and grow revenue. So we take these concepts and then bring them back into what we call an app-driven approach. In this case, what we're saying is, well, we have our unified customer data in the CDP. So we have our transaction data, our behavioral data, and our emotional data. Now let's build or let's apply our machine learning churn model to identify the root causes of churn and even predict the probability of churn across my customers. Let's segment and cluster those customers across the different reasons why we think they're going to churn. And then let's identify which actions, again, a machine learning based model that's going to identify what's the propensity that a customer is going to accept an offer. But these offers are, in this case, are tuned to reducing the likelihood of churn. So when we take this and activate it, what we're really doing is looking across these different potential causes of churn. We might be looking at indicators or causes, and the model is going to cluster customers around these different indicators. Then we have the Microsoft Power Automate platform, which is able to automate business processes and create data-driven workflows that will look at these segments of customers and automate the integration with MarTech tools so that we can optimize which channels and which contents are delivered to which customers. So again, as an example, we'll jump back into a real quick demo here. If we go to customer insights again, one of the things we can do is take the concept of churn and apply a custom model that's pulling data from our customer data platform. And this churn model is looking at all these different transactions and activities for our customers, identifying those root cause of churning and the probability of customer churn. And then if I go back to my customers, you can see that for each customer now, we've deposited that churn score onto their customer profile. Now, this churn score can be, again, automated. So, for instance, if one of our issues is that customers who have called customer support 3 times in the last 6 months have a higher propensity to churn, well, then we can take that and feed it into our call center system with an offer. And that specific offer can be delivered automatically to a call center agent when they begin speaking to Maxine, with an offer that's going to be relevant to somebody who's had 3 or more phone calls into our call center in the last 6 months, with some sort of offer that we think might remediate and mitigate risk of that particular customer. So with these churn models, we're also able to take the data from these churn models and actually export the results and import them into any MarTech tool that we may want to interface with and drive with those. We can even segment dynamically based on churn. So we look at our profiles, for instance, we can select a field like the churn score. Yes. And we can see how our values are distributed across churn score, but let's just take an example here. We could create a name. So we can see we had 72,000 customers selected here. We could create a name, store this, run it. It's going to come back and it's going to give me a list with 72,000 customers in this segment. Again, I can take that segment and export it to other tools and use that to drive campaigns, again, to reduce that churn score. So how is Customer IQ different than some of the other approaches out there? Well, again, we're leveraging standard Microsoft technologies and pre-built APIs that speed the time to value and also make it easier, again, for you to own, operate, customize this. It's deployed on your infrastructure in the cloud. It gives you unrestricted access and ownership to the data. We're enabling and empowering marketing to own the questions, the answers, and the solutions. And again, with these accelerators, the AI and ML accelerators that we bring, we're able to help you accelerate the time to value, not have to build from scratch to get there. So ultimately, you're able to leverage all of these emotional and behavioral signals to quickly recognize and optimize marketing activities. you're managing all this customer data in-house, and again, ultimately breaking down those silos between technologies and solutions that really inhibit companies from becoming customer-centric. And we're able to deliver this at cloud scale. So global companies are deploying this sort of technology with operations in multiple geos, and we can address both tactical and strategic requirements. And why partner with Microsoft and Neal Analytics on this? Well, Microsoft is making massive investments in helping customers innovate around customer centricity. If any of you went to NRF, you may have had a chance to see Satya's keynote on opening day, and it's clear how much Microsoft is interested in helping retailers and consumers develop better relationships. Again, leveraging their proprietary enrichment sources, the automation and activation they provide with the Power Platform that gives us end-to-end capability, unrestricted access to the customer data. It's yours. With Neal, we're helping you minimize the risk of becoming customer centric, deploying tools like customer insights, connecting the different data sources, leveraging our solution accelerators on the ML AI capabilities, and helping you develop these end-to-end marketing apps that really drive the outcomes. Ultimately, what we want to enable you is the access and ability to own the data about your customers, your insights, and this becomes your IP. So one of the things we're promoting as part of this workshop as a potential next step is we've developed a sort of Kickstart Engagement to help companies understand what the opportunity is with customer IQ and customer insights. This 2-day workshop is really focused on helping you align these technologies to your business priorities and your KPIs, but also set a roadmap of what do we do first, and where do we start beginning to get value. The goal of Dynamics Customer Insights and Customer IQ is not that we're on a 12-month journey or a 2-year journey before we start seeing benefits. The goal is to start seeing benefits from this in 6 to 8 weeks. And so this workshop is designed to help set us up for success on that. And I put a cost up here, but many of these workshops can be funded by Microsoft investment dollars. And if you're interested, we certainly would be looking at how we could get Microsoft to put some skin in the game to help you see the value that can be derived from customer insights. So we hope this is something that many of you would be interested in doing. We'd love to partner with you on helping you see the opportunity as it applies specifically to your business and to your business objectives. So with that, that's a presentation on that I had prepared for today. Hope it was helpful and informative. And I think now we'll open up to any questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Greg. That was awesome. I hope you guys appreciated the demo. Clearly, we're talking about putting things in action, not just talking about them. So I do have a few questions that were sent along our way. The first one is with regard to Dynamics specifically, the Dynamics Customer Insight and Customer IQ, I guess. Will this solution only work with Dynamics CRM?
That's a good question. Actually, Customer IQ can work with any customer data platform on the back end. We recommend Customer Insights again because of the strong value proposition in both TCO and time to value, and the fact that we can pre-configure many of the machine learning models to the common data model. But the reality is we're talking about customer data, not enterprise data. So there is a definite consistency from CDP to CDP in the type of data we see, and we can deploy Customer IQ on top of any customer data platform.
And what about CRM? So do you need Dynamics CRM to use Customer Insight or Customer IQ?
No, in fact, Microsoft has made it very clear, and we've seen this in action, that Dynamics Customer Insights is really focused on the specific task around unifying customer data. It's not meant to be a CRM. It's not meant to be an ERP system. And for that reason, they've made sure that Dynamics Customer Insights will work with any CRM. And I've seen implementations where data from the Dynamics Customer Insights is being surfaced in Salesforce as a card in the customer profile in Salesforce. So meant to work with many tools on the market. It does not require the Dynamics portfolio of solutions in order to be functional and valuable to the business.
Thanks. Talking about this, being able to use different products or data sources, What if, so one question is, some of my data sources are on premises. Can Customer IQ connect to those sources too, or does it have to be only those MarTech SaaS solutions?
No, absolutely. It's flexible. It's expected that there's going to be on-prem data sources and others that are external and in the cloud. So many of the pre-built connectors are there to connect with data sources like Oracle and others, which are still oftentimes found on-prem. So on-prem, external, in the cloud are all accessible and useful with Customer Insights.
And if I may add, I know from some of our customers, the customers we work with, that's also one of the value that Neal Analytics brings on the table is our experience in building those connectors, whether for online services or on-premise services.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, there are many pre-built connectors that are available out of the box with Customer Insights, but there's always going to be some likelihood that there's a data source that isn't necessarily there. And our team, being skilled as architects and data engineers, we actually help customers build those custom data connectors very quickly so that we can light up that data source and bring it into the platform.
Well, I guess as usual, it's going to be the old adage of the 80-20, that we probably, for every project, we'll find 80% already ready to go and 20% that we'll have to custom make. So next question. So we mentioned CRM. What about Segment? I use Segment for my CDP right now. Can Customer IQ work on Segment as well?
Again, Customer Insights can really work with any CDP. Obviously, the prerequisite there is that the CDP either, I guess we're talking about Customer IQ. Customer IQ can work with any CDP. The prerequisite there would be that there is some sort of data connector to the CDP, or the CDP allows you to export data into a CSV format or some other format that we can consume in the machine learning models.
Awesome. So we talked a lot about this retailer or CPG. Really, are B2C kind of use cases.
Yep.
Could that be used for a B2B kind of business?
Absolutely. In the essence of time, I didn't have time to kind of show both lenses, but Customer Insights is definitely configured for B2B use, and there are B2B customers using it today. So without a doubt, you know, we just like in the B2C sense, there's a buyer journey in the B2B world, and the buyer journey is very complex. In fact, one of the interesting aspects about the buying journey on the B2B side is that oftentimes it's groups of people that are part of that buying journey in the customer, and being able to relate those groups together and understand their behavior as a group is one of the key benefits of leveraging a CDP like Customer Insights in the B2B scenario.
So you mentioned that in passing when you talked about the workshop. Can you come back to how long does it take to implement Customer Insights? So I guess maybe from the first results I will be able to see up till it's fully operational, deployed at scale, and so forth. You have some
The general rule of thumb for Customer Insights is about 6 to 8 weeks, and that's really to allow time to ingest the data, to fine-tune the mapping and merging of data, and to also create the measures, the attributes, and the segments. But once that's complete, you know, you have a solid, unified customer profile data set that you can start to use. The insights coming out of that data set are almost immediate. So it's 6 to 8 weeks. Again, this is one of the strong value props of Dynamics Customer Insights, to start having that, we'll say, minimum viable product that starts helping marketers be more effective and efficient.
So basically, in 6 to 8 weeks, you can start to show your boss that the investment is bringing returns, and then you'll keep on getting better and better.
Absolutely, yes.
That's great. And the last question is actually a logistical question, whether a recording of this presentation will be available post-event. Absolutely. So everybody that registered, whether you were able to come or not, will receive a link to the recording as well as to the presentation itself. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. Contact us at nealanalytics.com. On that note, thank you so much, Greg, for this great presentation and awesome demos. You took the risk of going live, so that's
I did.
It paid off. It paid off. Thank you so much for everyone that joined us, and we wish you a great end of the day. And goodbye from Seattle.